Bismillah.
Good morning, Honorable Mrs. Respect to the audience and everyone who watched this presentation out of there. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Several months ago, I've ever talked with one of my neighbor, an old man about 50 to 60 years old. We were talking about language, specifically a new terms, a contemporary utterances or up-to-date word used by nowadays teenagers. As we talk, the more we realize that language is not about something static in their way. It will develop and even change, merging with other language and generating a new pattern of expressions and so on. Due to this fact, I would like to deliver my interest, one related topic in my article about how actually grammatical structure occurs in English. And this is also become my background of study, in which English in the past actually the grammar is not really formed well, so old people use inflection and word cases to signal the grammatical rules. It is really different from nowadays, in which word order, it is important to sign the grammatical attribute in every word. I mean, for example, like Ukraine invaded Russians. It has an opposite meaning with Russian invaded Ukraine. The one who mentioned first, it will become the subject and followed by predicate and object. However, one thing that you should bear in mind, Old English does not really rely on this word order. I mean, it doesn't matter in which part you put the subject or object, the people will understand and notice that it was the subject. Why? How come? Yeah, as I said, Old English people use more inflection rather than now. What is inflection? According to Oxford Dictionary, inflection is a change in word form, typically the ending, to express a grammatical functions or attribute such as tense, mood, person, number, case, and gender. So what is the effect? So I've concluded there are two effects of inflections. I mean, all English people use inflection in this case. The first one is used to the noun for determining the word cases. So by inflections, people will notice it becomes the subject, and with different inflection, it becomes the direct object, and so on. The second one, the inflection is used to the verb. Actually, as well as nowadays, the inflection is also used to the verb in determining the tenses like past tense, present tense, right? Yeah. And next is about word cases. So there are four word cases in this. I have concluded it. And the first one is nominative. It was the term to the subject of the sentence. And the second one is accusative. It was the term to direct object of a sentence. And the next is genitive, the possessive noun. Or nowadays English use possessive noun by using apostrophe s in the end of the word. And the last one is dative. It was direct object or recipients. I've put the example here. But to make it this disclaimer, to be honest, I don't know how exactly Old English pronounce it, but this is, yeah, but nowadays people usually use food by using double O. It's mean an organ you use to walk, right? And yeah, when it's become the subject, you can see here, food, and become the object, food, doesn't change. But when become genitive or possessive noun, photes, and become indirect object is fed. I mean, it is change. When food itself become a subject and become indirect object, it has two different forms. However, in nowadays, it does not really like this. It's still food, whether it become a subject or become an indirect object or become an object. But in the past, the attribute of the noun is determined its inflections. Yeah, and the next is inflection used to the verb in the simple present. I have choose the he, she, it, or the third person as a subject here, and you can see in the verb in Old English, yeah, in Old English with its inflection in the end, is inflection, drive, if I'm not mistaken to pronounce it. And in the Middle English, there is an additional inflection at the end. Why? Because the S is appear actually as an option in the Middle English dialect because of the Scandinavian dominion at the time. Scandinavians settled the land, and their language merging with the native languages. And you can see in the early modern era, it was the inflection AS is no longer used. Why? I think the factor is because at the time is the normal inflation begins, right? And yeah, in become the modern, yeah, as you can use now, private. So next is the inflection used to sign the simple past. Actually, it divided become two cases. The first one is weak verb by adding a D or T to the root. For example, kiss become kissed with D, or like teach become taught with T. And strong verb, not adding anything, instead changing the vowel of its base form. For example, steal, stole, stolen, or write, wrote, written. And these two of distinctions nowadays known as irregular and irregular verb. But in the past, it's used weak or strong verb. So in conclusions, again, as I said, language is not about something static in their way, right? Nowadays, grammar occurs of the change in the Middle English system due to the war, globalization, and many more. And according to Jonathan Culpeper in his book History of English, it was established from the 16th to the 18th century and has experienced some improvement until now. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for hearing, for having me time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.